Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of the Foundation for Free Enterprise Education's Speaker Series. Today, we have a fantastic topic, which is going to be of interest to anyone considering careers in marketing, tech, and the digital world, or in fact, for that matter, anyone who has ever used the internet. It is my great pleasure to welcome with us today, Mackenzie Farone Waite. Mackenzie is the Senior Corporate Communications Manager with Griner Bio One, a large global medical technology company with locations across the world. And she's also the owner of Farone Digital Marketing Consultancy. Mackenzie is an expert in the rapidly growing fields of digital marketing and search engine optimization, or SEO. And today she's going to take us through an in-depth look at what exactly digital marketing and SEO are and outline the endless possibilities of careers in this growing field. Mackenzie is a 10-year volunteer with Pennsylvania Free Enterprise Week, and she is married to her husband, Dwayne, who is also a volunteer with PFEW. She's the proud mom of 3-year-old Esther, and at this taping, she is expecting their second child, who will arrive in the summer of 2021. I can't wait to dive into this topic because not only is it fascinating, but it's something that we all need to learn more about. Mackenzie, welcome. It's great to have you with us. The floor is yours.
Great. Thanks so much, Scott, for the wonderful introduction, and I really appreciate it. I really love PFEW, so I'm so excited to be able to share, one of my passions, which is digital marketing, with one of my other passions, which is volunteering for PFEW. So, we're going to talk about a lot of things today, of the basics of digital marketing. So digital marketing can get pretty complicated when you really get down into the weeds, and there's a lot of specialties underneath the umbrella of digital marketing. But I'm going to do my best today to just talk about kind of the basics and make sure that we can get a general understanding of how it's used. So just a little bit more about me quickly. I have a master's degree in international business from Point Park University, and I'm also certified in email marketing, social media marketing, digital marketing, and specifically SEO and PPC campaigns. You already mentioned my work history, so I'm not going to mention that at all. I will share that the picture of me on here is not at 8 months pregnant, so focus on that picture there. So today we're going to have a pretty large agenda, but I'm going to try to do it in about 20 minutes. We're going to talk about what is digital marketing, what is SEO, and why is it important? How are you impacted by it? Which I think is a really intriguing topic to talk about because a lot of people are impacted by SEO and remarketing and digital marketing campaigns every day. And if it's done correctly, you might not even know that it's affecting you or your purchasing behavior. So we'll talk about remarketing, pay-per-click advertising, social media, and content marketing. And then the biggest thing is, how do companies use digital marketing as part of a robust, complete marketing plan? Because believe it or not, there's still some companies out there that don't really focus on digital marketing very strongly. And I think we've seen, especially in this past year with the global pandemic, that companies that focus very heavily on digital and being able to work remotely and technology, using their website, all of that information they put in and that work that they put in help them to be more successful when something like a pandemic happened. So let's dive in and talk about exactly what is digital marketing. So digital marketing is a really broad term. It's basically describing the components of a marketing strategy that utilize the internet or online-based digital tools. So it's any way to use a computer, a tablet, a mobile device, even things like your Siri or your Alexa or your Google Home. And as they, advertise to you in their own subtle ways based on your preferences, all of that is aspects of digital marketing. It also includes everything from email marketing and content creation to social media and website optimization. So like I mentioned, there's a lot of careers within the digital marketing realm that you could get into depending on where your passion lies. It might be email marketing, maybe it's social media advertising. It could be SEO and SEM, working with search engines. There's a lot of opportunity here, but it's important to remember that we're all influenced every single day by digital marketing. I know that I was told many times in my life that as a millennial, we are the most marketed to generation. And obviously, I don't think that's true anymore. I think there's many generations underneath me now that are probably even more marketed to than I. So let's start jumping in and talking about what exactly is SEO. So as Scott mentioned, SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization. And basically what it is the process of improving the quality and the quantity of traffic to your website or a web page based on search engine traffic. So there is an art form to coding and to creating a website or a web page to write for not only your end users and your audiences, but also for Google, so that Google can put your website in front of the right people. What's important to remember is that search engine optimization usually targets organic traffic. So it's literally people saying, I want to buy, let's say I'm going to buy a new car, and I need to know what type of SUV I want to buy. What's the best one? They would go to a search engine like Google or Yahoo or Bing and type in a query, or what they use the word keyword, and maybe it's best SUVs 4-wheel drive. That, if you show up for that search result, that's SEO that's going to get you there. Paid traffic. So if you're running advertisements on something like Google or Bing or Yahoo, that's called PPC, or pay-per-click advertising, that we'll talk about later in the presentation. But understanding that those are two different platforms. So the goal of SEO is, just like I mentioned, it's to target the highest ranking that you can get on what they call SERP. So you'll understand that a lot of digital marketing has its own vernacular and its own jargon that goes along with it. They love acronyms. I don't know why marketers, we just love our acronyms for some reason. But SERP stands for Search Engine Results Page. So basically, it's once you put something into a search engine, the results that show up, those are the results on your search engine result page, or SERP. So what you want to do is create a site and market it in a way that you end up in those top 3 search results on SERP. So why particularly is SEO important? There's a lot of reasons. And I think we can all think about our own behavior as consumers and really easily understand why something like SEO is important. If you were looking to buy something online, and let's say it wasn't readily available on your go-to site like Amazon or something like that, or you wanted to price compare, or you wanted people's opinions on whether or not a brand was worth purchasing, what's the first step that you're going to take? Probably going to Google, typing in a search query and seeing what comes up and searching around some different results that come up. And that's what the majority of people do. So when done correctly, SEO can put you in front of more people. It can increase your lead generation, your online and e-commerce sales if you have a platform. It builds a positive brand reputation. If your company shows up as the top search result for search queries inside of a particular topic all the time, and you're constantly creating good content that people are looking at, that builds your brand all over the place to help you out to build your sales in other ways. It also helps you as the creator of the website and of your brand to put information in front of customers that you want them to see. So it allows you to control how your brand looks to customers. It also can increase your revenue. And what I really love about things like SEO and PPC is that it has the potential to allow smaller companies to compete with larger companies in the industry. Not that long ago, when we're talking about traditional marketing, it was really difficult for smaller companies and startups to compete with large companies because it was all about how much money do you have to spend, right? So their companies would put up billboards and run massive ad campaigns and television commercials and radio spots, and all of this stuff took money. And smaller companies were not able to have those deep of pockets and compete with those larger companies. Now, if you have someone on your team that really understands search engine optimization and knowing that Google is the #1 place that people go to find new products and the things that they're looking for, if you have someone that does SEO right, you have the ability to compete with some of these larger players that might not be doing it on the scale that you're doing it. So I think it's a great kind of equalizer in a lot of industries. So we won't go through all of these things. There's a lot of terminology, like I mentioned, that goes along with SEO specifically. And when you're talking to someone who does a lot of SEO work, it can be very confusing, like they're speaking a completely different language. So what I would say is just to take note of some of these words. And if you're going to use them, let's say in your PFU presentation, or if you're looking for a career in this in the future, try to work in some of these keywords. Go in and Google what they mean, right? So go in and search and try to get an understanding of what these keywords mean. I will go over just a couple that are important to understand, and then we'll use in the presentation. So like I mentioned, keywords. keyword is what is referred to in the SEO world as like your search query. So a keyword is whatever you went into Google and typed in to search for. So best cars on the market, pizza place near me, blouses from Old Navy, whatever. That's your keyword. And they come in different forms, short tail and long tail. Long tail means that they're more descriptive, so they're going to have more words. So it might be blue silk blouse from Bloomingdale's, for example, would be a long tail keyword. Short tail keyword would just be blouses online, right? Rank is really important to know. Rank is where you are in the search engine results. And again, like I mentioned, you always want to try to be in those top 3 spots. As most of you know, again, thinking of your own consumer behavior, have you ever gone to the second page of Google search results? Or how bad do the search results have to be for you to scroll down, right? To get to 10 or 15? Nobody's doing that. If you aren't seeing what you want in the first couple of search results, you're probably trying to search something else, right? Another thing, I think the last one that I'll probably go over because the rest get a little technical, is crawlers. So crawlers is a really important thing to understand. Google uses crawlers to come to your website and go through the code on every single page on your website. And it looks at the information that you've put in to build this site to understand what's on it, right? So it's not a person. It can't see physically what is on your website. It can't, take a look at your website. So what it does is use these crawlers to read the code, and the code tells it what's on your website. So when you're optimizing for search engines, you're optimizing that code in a lot of different places for the keywords that you want to rank for. Then those crawlers come in and crawl those pages, and it tells Google what relevant information is there. So some of the information on here too, it speaks to what you would optimize with that keyword. So alt text, meta information, things like that. So let's kind of just go over that in generalities. What do search engines look for when they're crawling your site? So when they're determining where a site or a page is going to rank, there's several factors that they review. And Google, because Google is like a sneaky little snake a lot of the time, it doesn't tell you really what all of the aspects of ranking are. So there are some people in the SEO community that estimate that there's over 200 different ranking factors that Google's algorithms can take into account when it's figuring out how to rank certain pages or websites. But Google does not proactively tell you really what those are. So a lot of it is trial and error. A lot of information is people in the SEO world speculating as to what they've seen work and what they haven't seen work. But some of the biggest things that we know impacts where you're going to rank in search results are these things. Number one is always high quality, really relevant content. So are you putting content on your website that answers a question that people have? And if it does answer a question that people have, does it answer it well? Does it answer it better than the other sites that are out there? That's going to move you up in the rankings. Also, freshness or consistent updates. So Google doesn't want you to just put a website out there and let it sit there for 5 years and never touch it and hope that it generates leads for you. It wants you to constantly create new content. More people come into your site because you're creating more information and people are going in to use it. So it won't just crawl your site once. It'll crawl your site consistently. And the more new information that it sees that you're posting that's relevant, the more it's going to consider you to be an expert or a good source of information. It's also going to look at what's called your backlinks or your reputation. So you always want to make sure on your website that you have a good reputation with Google or whatever search engine you're using. And one of the ways that you can build a good reputation is by having backlinks connect to you. So backlink is when another website out there on the internet links back to your site. So let's say, for example, you write a really great blog post that people absolutely love. And that blog post gets picked up by other websites in your industry, and they link back to you. That's a backlink. And the more that Google sees that other websites in your industry are also agreeing that the content that you're creating is really high quality, it's going to continue to boost your reputation. And it's going to say, all of these people agree that this content's really good. I should make sure that that goes up in search rankings, and I should rank this website higher in the future. It also looks very, very strongly at user experience. So that was one of the terms on the last slide, was UX, UE. That's a whole other job that you can get into in digital marketing if you wanted to, which is really looking at the behavioral psychology behind why people do what they do on the internet, and why do they purchase the things that they purchase, and what influences that. So it's that user experience. Navigation. Is your site easy to get around? Is it clear to users and also to the Google crawlers how they are supposed to go through your site to get certain information? Are there low bounce rates? Bounce rates is when someone comes to your site and instantly leaves. They don't spend any time there. They don't click around. They don't look for things. They immediately leave your site because whatever they thought they were going to find there, they didn't find, right? So Google takes a look at that and says, okay, well, you're ranking for a keyword, which obviously is not actually shown here. It's not really giving relevant answers to this question or this keyword or this query that this person put in. So we're going to penalize you because what you say is on this website isn't actually here, right? So you want to keep your bounce rates as low as possible. It's also going to look at technical items like page load speed, whether it can be looked at on mobile devices. So basically, I mean, none of the people watching this, I'm sure, but Scott and Liz, I know you will remember in the 90s when there was still like dial-up internet, and sometimes it took like 10 minutes for a web page to load, right? And now we're all spoiled because now, honestly, if a web page takes more than 2 to 3 seconds to load, Google penalizes you, right? So it's like we all remember when it was like, it's loading, it's loading. Now, if you have something like that, it would just be absolute death for a website creator. And then finally, we look at relevance to searchers and landing page experience. So once they come to a web page in the query, they come to the landing page, does that actually make sense? What they're seeing, is it useful to them? So basically, search engines just want you to give the users the fastest and most relevant answers to their questions. So you want to focus on writing for two audiences, and this is where the art comes in. You want to write your website content for your users and who you want your audience to be, and you also want to write it for Google. And if you can do those two things well and create really good content, then you're going to win in the SEO game. So let's briefly talk about what remarketing is. So remarketing is a really interesting thing that I think a lot of people don't know exists, but they're impacted by it. So remarketing says, when you come to my website, I'm going to put a snippet of code or a cookie onto your IP address or onto your computer that tells the internet that you have visited a site and are interested in my product. So when you search around the rest of the internet, you will start to see ads that I've created for my products based on your search and clicks on my page. So it's always really funny to me when people say, this is so weird. I was just talking to someone last week about how we needed to buy a new refrigerator, and now all I'm seeing everywhere are ads for refrigerators. And they think that it's some weird coincidental thing that happened. It's not. It's remarketing. Like, you had a conversation next to your iPhone. Your iPhone was listening to you. It said that, hey, this person's talking about refrigerators. Let's start putting ads for refrigerators in front of them. I can't tell you how many people I've explained that to as well. And they're like, no, I was just in my living room. Like, well, do you have an Alexa? Yeah. Okay. Alexa heard you. And that's why you're putting ads in front of you. So it can be a little strange, it's kind of big brothery, but that is an aspect of it. And so when your behavior is tracked and you get a remarketing tag put on to your computer, you'll start to see ads in what Google calls their display network. So you don't have to be on my page. You can be on any page that runs ads for Google, and you're going to start seeing ads for my product. So it can be a really powerful tool to get your brand back in front of people. Let's talk about what is pay-per-click advertising. So that's the other side of the coin. So you've got SEO, that's for organic search. You've got PPC, that's for ads. So PPC, or pay-per-click, is paid advertising through platforms like Google's AdWords. So you would use it in situations mostly where if you have a keyword that you don't think you can rank for organically, you can pay to create an ad that will put that ad up at the top of Google search results for a specific keyword. It's a bidding process. So companies bid with certain amounts of money based on how much competition there is to get their ads in 4 spots at the top or 4 spots at the bottom of Google search results. So I put some examples down here at the bottom as well. So if I typed in something like the best flat screen TVs, I'm going to start seeing ads show up in my Google search results for exactly where I can go and buy the best TV. So even though I didn't write, flat screen TVs at Best Buy, I have PPC campaigns that are running right now that are going to let me see ads that I might want to click onto. And I can see the reviews, I can see the pricing, all of that. And they're always designated as ads. So you can always tell if it's an organic search result or if it's an ad. And some people spend a lot of money on PPC campaigns. And there's a lot of intricacies with PPC campaigns as well, because there's search ads if you want to show up in Google search results as an advertisement. There's display ads, like I mentioned, in that Google display network. So those are used a lot for remarketing campaigns and things like that. There's also, if I'll go back a little bit, the ads that are kind of shown here are also commerce ads. So they are in the merchant center, which is another type of ad if you're really selling a product and you want to get your product right in front of any of the people searching. So we could do a whole 2-hour presentation on the strategy behind PPC. I'm just going to let you know it exists and it should be part of a strategy if you're doing any type of digital marketing. Social media as part of a digital strategy. So I know that PFU already talks about social media. It's absolutely crucial to have a good, solid social media strategy. There's a lot of companies that do social media really well, and there's a lot of companies that do it really poorly. I think just the point that's important to remember is to have a social media strategy, you need to understand that there's organic, which is, your Facebook page, your Instagram, your TikTok, and the organic content that you create and put there and hope to engage with your followers. And there's also advertising platforms behind each one of those as well. Very similar to AdWords, it's a bidding system where you bid to get your ads in front of a certain audience and generate leads through that. So it's just important to remember that your social media organic work, your posts and the content that you create are really to build your brand to an audience that's already agreed to interact with you. And paid is how you're going to broaden that audience and get it in front of people that might not know about you yet. So that's, I think, probably the most important thing to know about social, and to also have a really strong, well thought out strategy about how you're going to use both paid and organic opportunities across social, and also what platforms work for you, right? So dependent on your industry, your product, your company, where you're located, there might be some pages that make sense, and there might be some pages that don't make as much sense. So let's talk about content marketing. So we've talked a lot so far about content. Content marketing is a strategic approach where you can create and distribute valuable and relevant content to a clearly defined audience that speaks to their pain points or their questions. So I think we can all understand why content is important, right? We don't live in a world anymore where you can just put a print advertisement out and you'll get millions of dollars from it, right? There's too much advertising. You need to figure out a way to cut through the clutter and get the attention of your audience. And the way that people do this is through meaningful content. So it could come in a lot of different forms. It could be videos, it could be blogs, white papers, studies, infographics. This is a lot of stuff that we see go viral, right? So maybe it's, most recently, it's probably a lot of studies about, let's say, COVID-19 and its impact on schools or something. Like I have a freelance client that offers virtual childcare. We write a lot of content around, is the childcare tax credit good enough for working families, right? Doesn't necessarily have anything. It doesn't say, buy our product, come book a class with us. It's a piece of content that might be of interest to our audience to entice them to come learn a little bit more about us, to engage with us in some way. Content can also be gated or non-gated. So what gated means is that in order to access it, you have to give me something of value, which is usually your contact information. So people will say, you'll see this a lot of times, like the New York Times does this and the Washington Post, I think they'll say, hey, here's this great article that you're really interested in reading. I'll let you read the first paragraph, but if you want to read the rest of it, you have to give me your email address and name, right? So that means that content is gated. And it's a good way, I mean, if you're making good content, it's a really good way to get a lead list put together and send them through maybe an email marketing nurturing campaign. And eventually a couple of months down the road, they'll purchase from you. So here's an example of a digital marketing customer flow that you might use. So let's say we're going to use several different digital platforms with the goal of getting someone to buy from my e-commerce platform. So here's just one example of how you might send somebody through a flow that you've mapped out. So let's say we've created a great piece of content. I've written a blog that is the top 5 ways to maximize sales on your website, because maybe I sell SEO services, right? I'm a freelance SEO person. So I'll write a blog like that and I will gate it and put it on social media. So I'll start running LinkedIn and Facebook advertisements through their campaign managers and just share nothing about my company, but share, hey, if you're looking to increase your website sales, or are your website sales sluggish, here's the top 5 ways you've probably never thought of to maximize those sales. People click on it. When they want to go read it, they have to give me their contact information, and then they'll have access. Once they give me their contact information, then I make it into an email list, a contact list, that starts going through an email automation that I've created that gives them more information to those pain points, and maybe information about the services that my company provides and how we can help with that particular pain point. The emails then direct them to my website that is optimized for sales. And if they leave without purchasing, it's going to put a remarketing cookie on their computer. And I will start putting display ads in front of them for the next 30 days to remind them of the services that I have. So that one little piece of content could put my brand in front of that person for upwards of, from 30 days to 6 months, or however long that nurturing campaign goes for. And that exponentially, if done correctly, increases the opportunity for me to make money off of that interaction. So one of the things that's really important as well to remember when you're mapping out things like this, and because there's a million different combinations of digital marketing assets that you could use, but one thing to keep in mind is to always remember another acronym, which you'll hear a ton in business, and I know that PP talks about, is your ROI, your return on investment. So looking at, here's how much money I put into advertising this. Here's how much money I hope to make off of the efforts that I put in, and being able to adjust if that isn't working out the way that it's supposed to. And you'll see that. I know Scott's shaking his head because he's like, yeah, that's the simulation too. Like, how much money are you spending? What's your capacity? And then, how much is going out? And it's the exact same thing. It's the same way to run a manufacturing company. And it's the same principle for your marketing as well. To say, you don't want to spend more than it's going to bring in. You want your digital marketing to be as efficient as possible. And I'll wrap up by saying that is one of the greatest things I think about things like SEO and digital marketing, is that there is so much analytics available behind it, which you don't get in a lot of traditional marketing. So I can very easily use tools like Google Analytics, and there's a million of them, where I can go in and see in real time how many people are coming to my website based on my SEO work. What am I ranking for? What's the search volume for the keywords that I'm going after? There's so much information out there where you can really easily see and calculate what that return on investment is, and know that you're spending the money the right way. So as you can see, I know we talked about too, what are the positions that are available in digital marketing? It's literally endless. You could, like I said, look at UX and user experience, email marketing, social media marketing and advertising. You could do SEO and SEM, or AdWords and PPC, content creation, copywriting, because there's a specific way that you write for SEO. So there's like a ton of opportunity for anybody that wants to get into digital marketing. But as people are thinking about their particular companies, and especially, talking about putting your marketing plan together for the judges at PFEW, I think that it's really important to try to have some aspect of digital marketing in there as well, because any marketer that's worth anything right now understands that you have to have a digital marketing strategy as well, or the companies that don't are going to flounder. So that is all for me. I am happy to connect with anybody that has any additional questions through my LinkedIn profile. I'll share that link with Scott and Liz so that you guys can share that with anybody who might have any questions, but I'm always happy to connect and talk to anybody about digital.
Unbelievable, Mackenzie. I mean, you totally delivered. And as a Luddite and a proud Luddite, and for those young people that don't understand, actually pull out a dictionary and look it up, or you can Google it, I suppose. But I was sitting here fascinated. I was actually taking notes. Young people, this is a pen. You put it in your hand and it magically creates images on a piece of paper. But that's how I roll. So I have a couple of really quick questions. So Mackenzie, you were talking about paying for a higher position on your search, on your SERP. Do you have an idea what a typical cost for that would be? How to get yourself moved up in the rankings? Just give our viewers an idea of what that kind of money could be.
Sure, that's a great question. And the answer is there's no way for me to tell you that. Because it's dependent on the keyword that you're going after. Each keyword is going to have its own unique bid. It's going to depend on how many competitors are going after that keyword as well. And how long is the history of bidding on that then? So like I said, it's a bidding system. So it always maximizes the top 4 bids. And so let's say we were bidding on a keyword and we want to get into the top 4. There are softwares that will show you, including AdWords, will show you what the current bid is right now, or it'll give you an estimation of what the current winning bid is. And it will tell you, if you want to get in the top 4, here's probably the range that you want to bid. And you can make the decision if it's too much or too little. There are some highly competitive keywords that could cost a lot of money. What's nice about PPC is that you're only going to pay that bid if someone clicks on your ad. So theoretically, if no one clicks on your ad, you won't owe any money. But if 100 people click on your ad and the bid that was $23, you're going to end up owing quite a bit probably over the course of a month. So what's really important is when you're doing keyword research and figuring out what keywords you want to optimize your website for, the holy grail is words that have very high search volume. So a lot of people are going on and searching this particular query, but very low competition, meaning a lot of other people aren't trying to rank or run ads on that keyword. And that's where you can easily pick up a keyword for like a couple cents a click and really see a return.
Wow. Okay, that's great. Next question, I only have 2 more. Is there like a typical percentage of an advertising budget that companies will devote to SEO and digital marketing? Is it 10% of their budget or 30%? And I probably get that there may be no hard and fast answer, but you know the industry. What is the typical percentage spend?
Sure. I will say across the board, and from what I've seen, it's way too little.
Okay.
But that's marketing in general, right? Like we see that a lot. Marketing is, in my opinion, severely undervalued in most companies. And digital, because it is relatively new and a lot of people who are in decision-making positions don't understand what the real inherent value of digital is. So it's certainly not enough, but I think that it also depends on whether or not digital strategies are a pillar of your marketing strategy or not. So if you do have like an e-commerce platform and you're trying to sell products online, you should absolutely have a large percentage of your marketing budget going towards digital content, AdWords, all of that should be included because that's where you're going to get your direct ROI. Go ahead. If you're something like I don't even know, like a nonprofit or something like that, it might not make a lot of sense for you to invest a lot in digital because maybe community outreach is where the majority of people want to interact with you. So it's really understanding where is your audience, how do you reach them? And if it's mostly in digital, the majority of your budget should go there.
That actually makes perfect sense. Okay, last question. You talked about the wide range of careers available in this field, and there's a lot of different skill sets that are required and things. So for our viewers right now who are still in high school or who are considering maybe that this is going to energize them or be something that they would want to do for their careers, what kind of degrees would you suggest would be best suited to get into this kind of field? What should they study?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, my degrees are in business. It's really funny. I was just actually speaking with people a couple of weeks ago about there are some universities and colleges now that are offering either degrees or at least courses in digital marketing. I've been told that they are extremely difficult because digital marketing changes so much that by the time like a book is published for a digital marketing class, half of it's probably obsolete. It's like they used to say about computer programming and stuff like that, right? Like It's obsolete before it even goes to print. And it's pretty similar with digital. But I think anything that has to do with business strategy, marketing, or even like behavioral psychology, because a lot of it is understanding why do people do what they do? Why do they click on things? Why would they click on this title of an ad, but not this title? So it's kind of understanding that as well. So, I mean, I think even a combination of like business and behavioral psychology would probably be the top combination to really understand how all of this works.
That's actually a relief to anybody who's like a barista now or something that has a psychology degree and not in the field. What an excellent use of their degree. Fantastic. Look, Mackenzie, my brain hurts, but I am thrilled that you came on and delivered this information. This is really fantastic. Thank you so much for being with us here today. Good luck with the baby. Be well, be healthy. And again, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to reach out to Mackenzie, we'll provide her contact information at the end of this video. Please feel free to reach out. She'd love to help someone getting started in this field. Mackenzie, thanks again. This was terrific.
Absolutely. Thank you.